Good evening and welcome to the Arundel Camera Club live stream for Wednesday, September 16th, 2020. My name is John Milliker and I'm the club president for the 2020-2021 season. The Arundel Camera Club was founded in 1957 and exists to promote the art, science, and education in all aspects and fields of photography. Normally we meet at 7 p.m. every Wednesday evening during the school year in Severna Park, Maryland. However, with the current disruptions, we've continued the business as normal in a virtual space, which allows us to protect our members and guests from the current COVID-19 situation. For more information about us, please visit www.arundelcameraclub.org. We're also on Instagram. Be sure to give us a follow. Search for Arundel Camera Club or look on our website for our social media links. Before we get to tonight's topic, we have a few items to cover. First is our upcoming schedule. September 23rd is our first photo contest, and remember, it is a digital photo contest only this year. The theme is open. Lewis, our contest coordinator, has asked that I go over the due date, which is September 22nd. That is Tuesday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And as you create your files, you want to use the naming convention that is on the screen. For example, if you are a novice, you would use the initial N as in Nancy. Or if you're in unlimited, U for unlimited. And then an underscore. And then remember, this year we've divided our contest up into both color and monochrome. Use the letter C or the letter M to designate which one you want to put that into. And then try to make something simple for the judge and for Lewis to read, with either underscores between the photo name or use what programmers call a camel case. You use an uppercase character on the beginning of each word. And that will be a JPEG file, 1024 pixels on the longest side. Please make sure to save it as the sRGB color space. And if you are on a Mac, a lot of people need to create a zip file for some reason. We haven't really figured that one out yet, but that's something that the contest people have been doing for a little bit of time. Michelle, are you here to talk about something new and also the other field trips for the year?
Yes, I am here. So this coming weekend, we have a field trip to the Baltimore Zoo, which is this Saturday and Sunday, the 19th and 20th. Just to let people know, you have to purchase tickets online. They are timed tickets because of COVID and everything that's going on. The cost is $22 for non-Zoo members. If you're a Zoo member, then I believe you get a discount or your entrance is free depending on what you have. Then we also have coming up next Friday, September 25th at 11:30. There's going to be a World War II flyover in DC. It's going to consist of 70 different aircraft. You can check out the email for a flight map and good places to stand. And then something new, we're going to be adding Saturday, September 26th with a rain date of Sunday the 27th. We're going to do a meet and shoot at Lake Waterford Park from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Bring your chairs, bring your cameras, bring your lunch. We're going to be set up near the Blue Jay Pavilion across from the basketball courts. And we plan on taking over one of the charcoal grills there. And if anybody wants to bring their own food to cook, feel free to do so. An email is going to go out with all this information. Just please make sure you respond to the email if you plan to attend. We encourage non-members to attend. This way they can meet other members and ask questions. But it will be social distancing, so just make sure you have your chairs and abide by COVID rules. If you're not feeling well, then don't come. And then the last thing here, I want to remind everybody, I know it's a month away, but just to keep it in everybody's mind, Thursday, October 22nd from 4 p.m. to 9 p.m., we have a fundraiser at Brian Barew's. It's on a first come, first served basis. There's no reservations allowed this year. But also remember, if you're not comfortable eating at a restaurant, you can order curbside pickup. And you can make that order online. And they have it marked for Arundel Camera Club fundraiser that you can mark when you place your order. So I think that's all I have, John.
Perfect. Now remember, Brian Barew, they did this for us last year, and what was it? I think it's $25 for a fantastic custom. Is it a 3-course or a 4-course meal?
I think it's 3-course.
There's an
We will be sending out the menu. We recently just obtained the menu that is available. It is different from last year.
Okay.
And we will be sending that out. That way you can pass it along to your friends and family, and they can order or come in and raise money for the club.
And please do that. Please take this. Are we going to create something that maybe they can share out to their friends and family, Michelle?
Yeah, actually, Brian Brew already created something for us, so we just need to downsize it a little bit and then send it out.
Great. We'll send it out. We'll put it on the Facebook group, and we'll also see if we can get it on the website. The club, the offer was very generous last year, and the club made a very good amount of money that helped get us throughout the year and is helping us with this year as well. Make sure to try to join us out on that night. And if you're unable to join us with that night, please express your satisfaction, express your gratitude to Brian Baru by giving them a try during one of the other nights. Also, Michelle had spoke about September 26th, and if you are a new photographer, if you are someone that is looking into possibly joining our club, or just wants to come out and meet a bunch of photographers that kind of have the same mindset as you, I want to make sure that we invite you to our to that Lake Waterford Park. And also, speaking of membership, with the contest coming up next week, we've had a big surge of people filling out our membership form on our website. Remember, if you want to join in on our contests, we need to have your check sent for the membership before contest day. Make sure to send it as soon as possible. And if you're not interested in the contest and you want to go with our free tier membership, we also recommend that you go to our website, www.arundelcameraclub.org, and and fill out the membership form anyway, because not only does that help out with understanding who's out there and who's enjoying the programming, it also helps great people like Michelle and Christine and Lewis and everybody else into creating programming that is, and contests and themes and assignments that is kind of tailored for the larger base of who we've got. And with that stated, I want to turn over to Christine Milliker for the rest of the schedule, and also then get us started on a very exciting talk tonight with our own Richard Stolarski. Go ahead, Christine.
Good evening, everyone. September 30th, our very own Brian Flynn will be doing a presentation on Can Photography Help Guide Us Through Chaos and Crisis? And then on October 7th is our first photo assignment from September, which is Your Favorite Drink. And then October 16th, Don Rosenberg is doing a presentation on abstract photography. Now it's time to start tonight's presentation on Why I Use Adobe Bridge by our very own Richard Stolarski. Good evening, Richard.
Hi, how are you?
Can you tell us a bit about your photographic background before we begin?
Well, I've sort of taken photos for a long time, but just very casually. I've been fortunate enough. I worked for NASA for years as a scientist to travel to many places, to conferences and things like that. And I sort of casually took photos. When I retired from NASA in 2010, I decided to take a landscape photography workshop out in Colorado. And for the first time, used the manual mode of my camera and started actually concentrating on trying to figure out how to take better pictures. And it's now been 10 or 11 years. I've taken a number of workshops through the same person, and some here locally in Washington, the Washington Photo Safari. One of the club members, Steve Rosenbach, taught one of those. And just spending a lot of time learning about pictures and trying to figure out how to take better photos, and having a lot of fun with it. And it's been particularly good over the last year to make little trips out where there weren't too many people, take my camera and take data that I could mess with when I got home.
Thank you. Do you want to get started on your presentation? And
Sure.
just to let everyone know, Richard does not want us to wait till the end to ask all questions. So please ask over in Facebook chat as we go along, and I will ask them for you.
I'm very happy to be interrupted, because then I can talk about what you want to talk about. Okay, I need to share screen. Share screen. Entire screen. Wow. Something has to happen here. I said allow.
Richard, I've got you, but I'm not going to bring it up on stream until I see that you've brought either your bridge or your presentation. That's all I need.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay.
Soon as, and I'm going to add it right now. Here we go.
Okay. Whoops. What happened? There it goes.
There you go.
No backups for 1073 days. Okay. Okay, so the topic today is why I use Adobe Bridge. We had a talk a few weeks ago and one previously by John on using Adobe Lightroom, which I do not use. Partly Mike was right in his reason. I'm old and I'm old-fashioned, but I do have some specific reasons and preliminaries to why I use Adobe Bridge. I'm going to start with about the basic file structure. I don't use programs to organize my photos. I organize them in the file structure and do that. And I organize them into subdirectories or subfolders. I use a format which has been mentioned before. You go year, month, day, and then something about it. And when you do it that way, it alphabetizes by date. You can then browse your folder on a Mac with the Finder, and on PCs, I believe it's the File Explorer. I actually keep an originals archive, 2 of them. I shoot RAW plus JPEG, and so I have an archive for JPEGs, and I also have a RAW archive. I'm going to get out of full screen here because I want to do something. I have a RAW archive, which I'll talk about and show you in a minute. And then beyond those archives, when I'm processing photos, I save them in various folders that are defined by where it is, what trip it was on, my favorites, various things, which I seem to change my mind every year or two. And so I have 2 or 3 different organizations folded over all of that. And just to look at that, if I go to photos, let's go back here. If I go to my photos, I have an archive. I'll make this bigger, cover up what's underneath it. I have an archive and I have a RAW archive. The archive is by year. Every year that I pull up, every date that I download, I do it by date. 209, June 20th. We were in Signal Mountain in Teton National Park. And the pictures for that are there. These are JPEGs. Oops, that was one I should have discarded because it looked black. Anyway, there are various things like that. And there, I went to Solomon's and took some pictures. Everything is there. I've saved it all. But I also have a RAW archive. And if you look, it only has 2020. Because in fact, even in 2020, if I go File, Get Info, I've got 132 gigabytes, which is about 1/7 of my 1 terabyte disk. So the rest of it is all written off onto a side disk. But I use the JPEG to remind me of photos I have and say, gee, I want to go back and try to reprocess that. Then I have to go plug in the disk and go to the saved RAW archive. And then as I process pictures, I started off by just putting them in places, countries, states of the US. So you go to Maryland and I got lots of stuff dumped into there. And I did that really for quite a while. And then, I don't know, I decided there was a better way to do it. And I started going by each trip we went on. We went somewhere. We went to Wyoming in 2015, and I saved a series of pictures. They should be mostly JPEG. Occasionally I got a TIFF in there. That's just a mistake. we made a very nice trip to Paris in 2017. You may have I've shown a couple of these at various times. I don't remember where they are, but so you can sort of go through your photos this way, but it's a very clumsy process because you have to click on each one to look at it. When I went to a workshop, I saved them out of the workshop. I did things like that. So it's a clumsy process, but I have this organization, and I'm going to move back. Whoops. I'm going to move back over here, and I'm going to find PowerPoint. And when I decided that Adobe Bridge early on was a good thing to use. My focus in all of this is preserving pictures. It's not making it most convenient for me while I'm working on pictures. It's on preservation. I want to preserve family records where Shirley and I were able to travel in our lifetime. I'd like my children, my grandchildren, and the ones beyond that who will never know me to be able to access these pictures. It used to be that you put them in a little album. Oh, yeah, I can't be seen now, can I? I've got an album here, a standard album. I went from that to printing photo books, collecting them together and going to Peekaboo or I forget, there were a whole bunch of others, and making hardcover books. I figured, aha, when I'm gone, they won't just throw these away. But I really decided that I would like to preserve this stuff sort of in an album format digitally, so that I could take a 32 gigabyte memory stick and I could give it to my son or to my grandson. They could stick it in their computer and they'd be able to look at my pictures.
Richard,
but more than just yes.
If you want us to show you, we can switch back and forth between your presentations and you. You just have to let us know.
I described what it was. I've got a pile of books I had printed in there. Okay. The problem with doing this in software, it is uncertain that a couple of decades from now, what will be available. So the principle that I want is to bet on something which is likely to be available to somebody using it. I specifically don't use Lightroom to organize my photos. I don't use it actually to edit either, but I don't want to use something like that to organize my photos because somebody looking at them 20 years from now would have to have a subscription to Lightroom, or it would have to still be available. So I'm betting on two things, and that is that basic file structure I just showed you and web browsers. That I think web browsers that read HTML files will be around longer than most anything else before they're replaced. So Adobe Bridge, what is it? It's actually a file browser. It's a file browser that when you use it, it shows you the contents of the files that reside in your system, and it shows you all of the files, not just images. I can quickly bring up here's a window of a bunch of photos. This is mostly the files that I've taken over the last year. Not unlike what you see in Lightroom. You see all of these thumbnails, and you see a copy of it. You see metadata and various other things. I'll go into that in more detail in a moment. I want to go back to PowerPoint. It is not a database program. You do not ingest files into Adobe Bridge, but you can do a lot of things you do in other programs. You can put ratings on them, you can label them, you can add keywords, you can put all kinds of information that can be viewed in Bridge. And I said they'll not be useful except when you're in Bridge. I believe that they're all viewable in Photoshop also. Photoshop will know what that is, because when you do that, it makes an XMP file, which used to be separate from the picture file, from the photograph, but now are included inside it. And Adobe Bridge, most importantly, it's the gateway to Camera Raw and Photoshop, which I use, and it's very closely integrated with Camera Raw, and less so, I guess, with Photoshop.
I believe
Yes.
you're right, Richard, about it being integrated into the whole Photoshop experience. Yeah. I know that what I've done in Bridge will go into Lightroom and into Photoshop itself.
Into all of them, yes. So it is a gateway to all of those, but in itself, it's really a file browser. So I'm going to talk about a few things about Bridge. I'm going to try to describe it. At the end, I'll show you this website where this guy is. This is the guy I took the landscape photography workshops with. His name is Andy Cook, Rocky Mountain Reflections. He has instruction in YouTube videos, and he has like 7 lessons on Adobe Bridge, which goes into more than I will cover. And they're done very nicely. Each one is only 5 or 6 minutes long and goes through a feature in quite the detail.
A couple questions for you, Richard.
Sure.
Paul asks, for image format, actually states, for image formats that support it, JPEG, ratings will be stored in the image file itself. He says also the same with keywords. John asks, if you can tag, star, label photos, can you sort from those assignments?
Yes, and I will show that. I will show it within one directory where I have done that. Oops. But I understand that you can do it across directories and search through those. I don't know how to do it. I don't use keywords, but they are available in there, and I'll try to show you some of that. Okay, any other?
That's what I have so far. I'll keep you up.
Okay.
There was one other quick question. Paul had asked, do you know what the current cost of Bridge is, or which packages of Adobe include it?
I have no idea. I know I still use Photoshop CS5, and it came with it, as did Camera Raw. I think if you get Photoshop, I don't think you can avoid getting Bridge, but I don't know that, because being on CS5, you understand that it's pretty ancient.
If I can jump in here real quick, the current thought is Adobe gives Bridge away for free, and it used to be a thing. You used to be able to download a trial, everything else would stop working, and Bridge would keep working. According to the forums, they seem to make it think like Adobe Bridge is free, but Adobe doesn't politicize it. People are still saying if you do need a free Adobe login, and you may need to use a trial of one of the Photoshop CC things. But people are saying once that trial ends, Adobe Bridge does not go away. That's the thought. Your mileage may vary.
Now, I can tell you that if you go into my file structure here, and if I go to my raw archive, and I go here, you'll see that I just pick one, Inner Yard. These are all DNG files. That's Adobe's attempt at standardizing raw files. That's a digital negative. And my camera is a Canon. It does not make DNG raw files. It makes CR2 files. When I upgraded from the 60D to the 80D, they changed basically the metadata in the raw files, and none of these programs would read it. But Adobe puts out a free, I downloaded, DNG converter, digital negative converter. I do select folder. Once I pick the folder, I hit convert, and everything that's a raw file, it will convert to a DNG. Then I throw away the raw files. I kept them all at first, and then I read a little bit about it, and I found it basically a raw file. You know, I've got a 24 megapixel camera, so it's 6,000 pixels across and 4,000 pixels down. And basically, the raw file is a matrix of those 24 million places with all the information for each one stored at there. The R, the G, the B, the luminosity, whatever it stores are all there. And then on top of that, it has metadata describing exactly what's there and where things are stored. And when they bring out a new camera, they usually add some different metadata or whatever. And the new raw files are essentially the same in the picture file. It's just that you don't have the right metadata to know where the picture starts. So all this is doing, it's not changing anything in your picture, but it's converting the files. And that was free from Adobe. I just went to the Adobe website. It said free Adobe DNG converter. And so it's why I'm still using CS5. Otherwise, I would have had to upgrade to CC, which I just haven't felt like getting into a subscription basis.
Paul over on Facebook says he thinks he has a CS5 purchase somewhere, so he can probably find it. Mary Lou says that's true. They come together. So Bridge does come with the other Adobe stuff.
Right. That's the way mine came. Mine's a CS5 purchase.
Someone else says DNG is also like JPEG, where it will store the ratings and tags, labels, etc. Other raw files will need a sidecar file, which, unlike Lightroom, it saves the XMP file automatically.
Saves it separately?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I just know that in mine, it doesn't save it separately, that when I've done something, it saves it internally. I don't have any XMP files. I used to have some, but I don't anymore. So anyway, that's where was I now? I need to get back to PowerPoint. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit now about the actual subject, which is using Adobe Bridge. I'm going to start with arranging the workspace. Okay, here's an Adobe Bridge here, and this is their Essentials workspace. But you can make this workspace do what you want. I can change from this to folders. Here's the key to me for Adobe Bridge. It manages my photo. They're not ingested into it. It manages them in place. This is showing you what I had in my Finder, my file structure. So I can go to any folder here, and there's the subfolders. I can go down here, and I can find, I'll do this one, and boom, the pictures that I saved from Paris. If I click on one of them, you've probably seen this one before, it's over here. But I've decided I don't like it arranged quite this way. I don't want all of those there. I can take the preview and I can put it in this big space, nice big preview. Now the content is right there. I go to preview and I can take the content and I can put it over here. The metadata is there. Keywords are there, which I don't use. Let's see if I can manage to put the content. I'm trying to manage to arrange these. I can't do it right now. But the point is, I can arrange it that way. Over here, well, these are all JPEG files and there's one folder. So I can show those. If I go to something else that has a variety of different kinds of files, I'm not sure. I went to Chesapeake City and I have all of these files and there's some JPEGs there. There's some DNG files there. And you look here and it says I have 273 DNG images. If I click like that, I can move this, I can make this different. And those DNGs, I was actually banging out 7 at a time, HDRing. I was being lazy, so I just shot the full gamut. And so You know, I can do this so that one of each picture is showing there like that. I can make these bigger if I want. I can do all kinds of different things to this display. I want to see more of my thing there. I want to take out those. There's the folder. There's the JPEG images. So I can do a lot of different things to display. I can go in here and I can decide that, gee, I want to work on, let me go back to DNG. Let me get 7 across here. Let's say I want to put together an HDR with all of these files from here through here. I can select all 7 of them. I can hit 1 and it'll put 1 star on it. And then if I go back here and I just hit 1 star to display the 1 stars, it only displays those images. If I go back and take out the 1 star, all the DNG images are there. So there's a lot of flexibility for when you're working. I suspect, although I haven't used it, that Lightroom does all of that and probably more. But it has very similar things. You know, it's the programmers at Adobe doing that. I can open all of these in Camera Raw.
Richard, just a quick comment. Some of the people are having some issues seeing the smaller images on your screen. It's not as clear for them. So if you could please explain exactly what you're clicking on so that people can understand if it's not broadcasting. The smaller text is the issue. They can't see it.
Yeah, well, the text is just the name of an image. You probably can't see this very well. I don't know how to make it bigger, but this over here that you can see scrolling up and down is a mirror image of my file structure. And I don't know how to make this, but the point is when I hit 1, I get 1 star on those. If I want to hit this one and I want 2 stars, I just type 2, and I know it's hard to see, but there are, as I make the images bigger, the names don't seem to get much bigger. There's 2 stars on that image. So all I'm doing is dragging a slider down here, and I'm seeing all my images. So I can rate those images. Let me go back to...
We have another quick question that
Sure.
I caught. Mary Lou was asking if there was a difference between quality and DNG and RAW files.
DNG is a RAW file. It is some cameras actually, and I forget which ones, actually take DNG as their RAW file. It is Adobe's version. Every camera tends to have their own proprietary RAW file. And there is this little fight going on, like over everything else that has happened in computers, to try to have your version become the standard. So you're using the standard and everybody else has to copy you. It hasn't happened yet for RAW files. There was a, I was thinking of one now and it's escaped me right now. But actually, I go back far enough in computers that ASCII text was not standard. You've heard of ASCII. When you do text, it's in something called ASCII, ASCII. IBM had something called Ipsodic, which was just like that. It's the binary codes, but they were all turned around compared to ASCII. And finally, that won out. So every computer has it. But not every raw file uses the same thing. Adobe wants you to use theirs. So it is a raw file. It's just a different one. It's just like my Canon 80D took raw files that were not the same as my Canon 60D. The basic information is the same, but it's the header information that explains to the computer how to read the rest of the raw file. It's metadata.
Okay, thank you. Doug Wood says, I use Windows and Lightroom. I organize my files in folders pretty much as described. I don't let Lightroom manage my directory structure. However, Lightroom will save metadata to the disk, which updates JPEG and saves the sidecar file for RAW. Windows 10 File Explorer displays at least my RAW format and has a large icon option.
Okay.
John just wanted to clarify that Lightroom doesn't automatically save the sidecar files, though. You need to make sure that you have that you have your options in save as it goes or in preferences, or it will not do that.
Okay, if I take this file, I'm just taking a file here. And if I open that in Camera Raw, there's two ways of doing it. It's a DNG. It'll open in Photoshop if I double click, or no, it'll open in Camera Raw. When I open it in Camera Raw, I can do adjustments in Camera Raw. Let's say I put some fill light because this is pretty dark. Doesn't seem to be doing much. Change the exposure. I do a few things. I add some vibrance. I do stuff like that. And I say done. I'm clicking on done down here. I can open the image in Photoshop. I can cancel, or I can say done. And what happens is this file now shows like that, and there's a little symbol up here on the top, which indicates that it has included in it the XMP file information for the changes that I just did. So if I now go to my Finder or anywhere else and open that file, it will look like this. It will have those changes included. But I can also, let's see, there's somewhere, and I forgot now where I do this. Sorry about that. Well, yeah.
No problem. Take your time. Just to fill some space, Lewis says DNG is also considered to be a raw image file. It is Adobe's proprietary image standard that was created to store image data in a generic, highly compatible format, unlike raw files that have specific formats based on their manufacturer and camera types. Although DNG was invented by Adobe and is supported in all Adobe applications, there are other camera manufacturers such as Leica, Hasselblad, and Pentax that adopted this standard and use it in their cameras as their native and supported raw file format.
Yes, that's exactly right. I tried to say the same thing, which is it's Adobe's version of a raw file, and some cameras use it. But Adobe puts out a converter, and I was able to just take mine, run them through that converter I showed you, and do that. If you look at this file, it has a little symbol on there, and there's a way to take that off, and I've forgotten what it is, and I did something crazy when I did that. I don't remember. Anyway, the other point of this is, I brought this up originally in the basic thing called Essentials, and then I've modified it and around. If I want to then take that, I can now say New Workspace, and I'll just leave it in that name, Workspace 1. And now I have that Workspace 1. So I can go back to this. Oh, I've modified it. I can take this one and I can say Reset Standard. And this will go back to the original way. But if I go to this Workspace 1, it goes into the thing that I just fixed. Or I have one I call Rich, which is almost the same thing, which is the way I work with it. But this is the way it comes packaged from Adobe. So you can switch between views. You can create your own workspace and save it so that it's done the way you want it to be done. So, and then I can I can go back here and I can go delete this one. And I got rid of the one that I just created, but I have one that looks just like it that's under my name. So that's some of the manipulations you can do. If I want to change, and if you look, the place that I am, you can't, I'm sure they can't see it. It says that I'm on my computer, Mac hard drive, users, my name, photos, archive raw 2020, the name of the picture. Or I can go down here and I'm in photos. I know they can't read this. Archive raw 2020. And I have all these folders. If I want to change to a different folder, I just go and click on that folder. It's got a lot of junk in it that I took. Or I can go to this one. So I can easily go between folders and look at pictures. So it's very easy to look at all my pictures. Rather than using the Finder, I've got something that displays all the pictures at once. If you go into a file that has non-pictures, that's our phone in the background ringing. Shirley's probably near a phone and she'll hang it up. If I go to something that has other stuff in it, I just go to here. This has some PDFs. It has a Word doc file. Well, it has some PDFs. It has some Word doc files. This has, oops, I can go down through there. And it has a doc file. Oh, look at this, an old WordPerfect document. That really goes back a long ways. And it has some sort of log file. It shows everything. But if it's a picture file, it will show the picture files. My messy desktop has lots of stuff on it. But it shows everything. There's a CR2 file. That's the old raw file from my camera, obviously from my 80D, that didn't get converted, that it doesn't know how to view it. There's an old picture of me when I was in graduate school. Anyway, the point is that it's very convenient for doing that type of thing. Let me go back to PowerPoint and what else? I've already said something about some of this stuff, but if an image comes out, sometimes it doesn't know. I'll leave these fairly large. Sometimes it doesn't know. Let me go down here. It doesn't know vertical from horizontal. If you need to rotate them, I can't see this. I can't even see. Oh, I got to click on a picture and I can just rotate it to get its orientation right. And after I've rotated it, Bridge will remember how I rotated it. And forever after that, until I change it again, it will be rotated like that. I already showed you that you can rate them by giving them stars. You can also, if I do 7, it'll put I type various numbers, it'll put a color on there, or it'll put a green, or it'll put a blue, it'll put a red. And I can get rid of those by going to label, no label. Boom, it's gone. So I can rate them. I use that temporarily, especially if I'm trying to do a panorama. So, okay, and I'm trying to do a panorama of HDRs. So I'll go through and carefully label 1 star for the first thing, for all the ones I want to use, 2 stars, 3 stars, or red, green, blue. So those things are very handy that I'm sure people using Lightroom can do that or more.
Over in Facebook, Mary Lou asks, what you can't bring up Word or PDF files in Lightroom, right?
I don't know about Lightroom.
Okay.
I don't think so.
I don't think
There's
so.
no reason Lightroom would read a Word file. And if I click on it, it won't know. I'm not going to click on it because I have no idea what will happen. But no, it's not going to open those files. You can view those files in your file browser. If I bring this up and I go find where would I find a
John says that you can see only photos in Lightroom, but most videos also.
yes. Oh, yes. This will do videos, and I'll show that in a minute. If I bring up a PDF file, see here, it'll show me the PDF file, and I can thumb through it in here. I don't. Oh, here's a Word file, and it'll show a Word file in here. But if I go to the same place here, it'll know it's a Word file, but it doesn't bring up the information inside of it, as far as I know. If it does, I don't know how to do it.
Over in chat, Bob shared the link to the Adobe Digital Negative Converter.
Yes.
And just letting everyone know that it is free for Windows and Apple.
Yes. I found that I have a friend that I do a lot of photography with, and we critique each other's photos, and he was giving me a hard time because when I buy a new camera, I'm going to have to subscribe to CC and pay them the $10 a month. You know, you're too cheap. Why don't you do it? And it was almost a challenge to find that. And I didn't have to upgrade, and I didn't really want to. I don't know. I'm eventually going to have to. Another feature you have on here, when I'm in one of these, is this little plus here is a loop. In other words, it will magnify. Doesn't look very clear. It will magnify. You can run it around the photo, and you can look at various parts of the photo to see what you have before you even open it in anything. So you can check, exactly what you have and how much it's in focus or not in focus, that type of thing. And then just click on it again and it goes away. Or you can leave it up like that. And if I switch to a different picture, it'll still be there on that picture. And it seems to take a while to find its either that or that's just blurry, which it very well could be. Oh no, that's not blurry. Can read the license plate there. So that's a useful thing to be able to do in Bridge. Trying to remember what else I had to say. Metadata. You can put in metadata. If I go down here, there is metadata here. There's stuff that's already in there. If you look at it, it doesn't need to be that big. And you probably can't read this. I don't know how to make the wording any bigger, but F22, 30 seconds, ISO 100. I don't know why I did it that way. It tells it's 6,000 by 4,000, 22.45 megabytes, and stuff about it was on manual mode, taken at 40 millimeter, And there's this other thing that I have here, the IPTC core. I do not know what that is, but this is where you can put in your own keywords. First off, I can put in creator. I do this and I can type in and edit. I can put my name in here as the creator. I can, it says copyright status unknown. I can put a copyright notice in there. There's a place for a title, sublocation, city, state, country, various other descriptive keywords. So I can type in keywords, description, headline, website. There's all kinds of things I can put in there and then save. And if I simply, I don't even know what that is at the bottom. But if I then go out of that to the content, it asks me if I want to do these metadata. I can say apply or don't apply. So if I say apply, it will come up with my name in it every time. It's got the date created in here, March 29th and stuff like that. So that's where you would go in and put all that stuff you want. I actually don't use that. Probably to my detriment, but it's more organization than I have. And I'm saving, in the end, I'm saving the JPEGs that I created from those. And you could do it to the JPEGs. If I go back down to, from one of my trips, and I go down here, and I just pick out Paris here. Oh, I'm on metadata, so it doesn't show anything. And I pick out the pictures, and I just pick out a picture. I can go to the metadata, and I can do all of that in. This is a JPEG file, but I can do all the same things to it. So it doesn't matter whether it's a RAW file or a JPEG file. The difference is that if I have a JPEG file, if I double click on this, oh, it opened it in, okay. Usually when you double click on a JPEG, it actually opens it straight into Photoshop. This one, I don't know why it didn't. But raw files always open in Camera Raw if you double click them. And any JPEG, if it opens directly in, I'll try it again. There. For some reason, see, that opened directly in Photoshop. It bypassed Camera Raw as a JPEG. I don't know why the other one didn't. But you can always open one in Camera Raw by clicking on the little symbol. Cancel. There's a little symbol up here, like a little disc that opens it in Camera Raw. Frankly, I don't know what all these other things are. It says refine. I don't know what those are. I can go back to where I was before that. You know, I can travel backwards and forwards from what I looked at. So I'm back
We have a
as far as I can go.
question over in Facebook. What is your end goal of saving photos?
Okay, that's the rest of the talk. Okay, so you're going to get me off of, you know, I promised to talk about bridge, but really what I want to do is, these are just some screenshots. I have them here. I will make any of this available that you want. And these are the Adobe Bridge lessons from Rocky Mountain Reflections Photography. They're free. You just go to this site that is up here and was on that slide. And he also has Photoshop lessons that are free. I think they're very good. They're done on a very old version. They're CS4, but it's essentially the same thing. And these things are like 5 minutes long, something like that. Very short and sweet. So once I get past that, what my end goal is to make these pictures such that they're available to my kids, grandkids, or anybody else I want to send them to, my brother and stuff like that. And I have decided I'm going to use the web browser to display the pictures on the computer. One of the things you need to realize that you think of a web browser as going to the web, but if I bring up a web browser window here, whoops, that's you guys. And let's see, let me go. Pardon me, I'm struggling here.
That's okay.
Whoops, now you showed me. if
Just don't exit this window.
I'm not exiting this window. I can go to another window though. Correct?
Yes,
No,
and when you have that up, I'll bring it up for you.
okay, what I'm trying to do is, okay, I'm going to go to Firefox. Oh, come on, where's the, I don't want to do it from this window. Okay, I want to go here. Okay, there's the Adobe Bridge lessons. I've already showed you that. Actually, if you're on the window, you can see he's got 7 lessons, and he's got other stuff. What I want to do is, damn, full screen. I always have trouble with full screen. Escape. What I want to do is let me just go to, okay, when you go to full screen, how do I get out of full screen? What, out of full screen?
If anyone wants to share questions over in chat,
Yeah, please
feel
do.
free to ask,
I'm
and
struggling with something here.
we'll get them asked for you.
Yes, please do. New window. Okay, I got a new window, which I should be able to get out of full screen in it. This is not the window you're in. See, I don't have the stuff on the top of it. I don't know how that.
Richard, you're on a Mac, right? Try Control
Yep.
Control Command F.
Control Command F. Brilliant. And if I go here, that's full screen again, but it should be, no. Okay. What I want to do is, okay, I want File, Open File. I can use my browser and I can just go anywhere that I've got photos. Here's a photo, and I can open that photo in my browser. There it is in the browser window. Happens to be rain taken from my front porch. But you can open photos on your computer in the browser. It is not just for browsing the web. So I can actually go File, Open File, and in that open file, I can go in here somewhere, and for instance, I have an HTML file that I have made, and that's what I'm going to show you, and I can open that in my computer. So I can do any of that. And the one I'm going to start with the simple one here, and I want to go through some simple instructions. I believe that this file that I showed you, you need basically about 4 different instructions to be able to make something like this that can go from there to displaying all kinds of pictures and stuff like that. Go back, and I have all these open already, so I don't need them. It's only a few instructions to do that, and I'm going to show you here. This is, I mean, you need a text editor to do this. Just a plain text editor, not a Word. You don't make a Word document. You need something that makes ASCII text, pure, just text. A Word document then puts all kinds of wrappers around it so Word can put all its fancy stuff on it, and you will not be able to do it. But if I do this, these are very simple instructions. I told it what kind of document type it is. It's HTML. I open HTML, I close it. I put the body of it, and I call its background color gray. I just picked the thing out. You can use ASCII codes, F for black and 0000 for white and stuff like that. I centered it, and I just typed these words in it. When I do that, I end up with let's see, there it is. I end up with this file. You can barely see it. There's little tiny words. It says this is a bare minimum to display words. I just typed in the words. Once I told it was HTML, I centered it, and I think I centered it, and I typed the words in. But then you can make the type, you can control the size of the type. You can change the color, you can change the font, you can insert a picture. And that's all contained here. I tried to make this font as large as I could. I probably could make it even larger. View. No, I don't know. I made it fairly large. These larger types where I type larger type. These are headers. Header 4 is the smallest. Header 3 is larger. Header 2 is larger. Header 1 is larger yet. When I wanted to change the color, I said font, color equals, and I wrote in light blue. I know that works. Black works, blue works, stuff like that. Or you can put in, look up the ASCII codes. Then I went in and said, well, actually, I want to change the font from whatever its base is. I use something fancy, which I kind of like, called Lucida calligraphy. When you bring up fonts in most things, it brings up this whole list of fonts. And I just typed change font so you knew what I was doing. I want to insert a picture. Well, I changed the font face again. I made it Helvetica. I made it blue instead of light blue. I said insert picture. And then the key instruction here is the image command, IMG. They're all in brackets. Source, SRC equals, and then just the name of the file. And I gave it a height, an absolute height, 200, and that's in pixels. And that's in screen pixels. That's not in picture pixels. So if your screen is 1,000 pixels on a side, that's 1/5 of the screen. So this simple thing, and this assumes that that file is located in the same place that this HTML file is. So if I go to here, whoops, yeah, if I go here, I don't know, can I make these bigger?
I have a couple comments for you from over on Facebook.
Sure.
Paul says, I'm considering Bridge for initial rating deletion of images before any adjustments on Windows. Delete seems to reject. Unreject seems trickier. Right click, selecting no rating. Any keyboard suggestions or tricks for which view to be used to make rejects via keyboard shortcuts simpler?
You mean rejecting photos?
Yes.
Well, you can just choose one of those labels, pick one of those colors. The colors start from red at just type a 6. 7 is, I forget, green, yellow, blue. I forget what they are, but 6, 7, 8, 9. So if I go here to a picture here and I want to put a red label on it, I do that and it's got a red label. And then if I did that to, several pictures and I put a red label on this one, I could then go and just display the red label pictures, and I should be able to then delete or drag them all to the trash bin. That'd be the way I would think about doing it. I believe then I can select all, which is Command A. I select all, and I believe I can edit. Move to, I don't know whether I can move it to trash. I found that what I have to do to get rid of photos like that then is I think I can drag them to the trash. Now, see, I can drag them to the trash. I'm not going to do it because I don't want to drag these to the trash. But I could drag them to the trash and then they'll ask me to confirm, do I want to put them in the trash? So you could label as many as you wanted. and then go here and use this these filters to select just the ones with that label and drag them to the trash.
Over in chat, Paul says maybe it's a newer bridge feature, but there's an explicit reject label in the version I just installed.
Actually, when I looked in mine, it defined, I think it defined 0 as reject. It had names that it defined with each of these, and I don't remember where that was. I think one of them was reject, but really all it does is put colors on there. Now, maybe it also has something where I can take that label. Oh, here it is. Select second approved review, but it doesn't, yeah. Oh, here's reject. It does have a reject rating. Yes, even in my old version.
Rich, can I bounce in real quick?
Sure.
For Windows, Paul, if you go to exactly where Rich is on this label up here, you'll see exactly the keyboard shortcuts for Bridge. Where Rich has to hold down the Control. For Windows, it is just I guess it's Control for us as well. Is that the Control?
I didn't use the Control. When I did the red here, I just typed 6.
Oh.
Even though it says that, I went in here and I want to change it. I just go 7. Now it's not displaying because I have to go in here. So I changed both of those, and all I did was type 7. So it's telling you need Control, but it appears to not need it. Label, no label.
I was going to say, I know in our bridge, like for numbers, you can just hit the numbers and it'll automatically.
That's exactly what I do in mine. Mine works exactly the same way.
Alt-Delete is the reject shortcut, according to Paul, that he's seen in the label menu. So that makes it easy.
Reject, I guess that's Alt-Delete. I'm not sure. I don't know. I haven't learned that. So I hadn't realized that. But me being one who keeps an archive in which he deletes in which he does nothing, I basically, when I want to get rid of one, I just drag it to the trash can the hard way. But yes, if you're really trying to go through and sort a lot of photos, you can use all of that. I had not realized the reject.
Paul says delete also is working for him.
Okay. I'm not in a place where I want to delete files, so I didn't do it. I should have created a separate file that had a variety of junk in it that I could.
And we also have a question. Do you recommend an HTML making program for anyone who might want to make a more Wysiwyg method?
I don't use them. I don't like them. I have used some. It makes a lot. I think it's my Control thing. And I spent I started programming in Fortran in 1963 or 4. So I'm really happy doing it. But so the instruction, and I'm happy, by the way, to put these things in, and I can put a little bit of stuff with it and send it out. You can post it on your thing there. Even if you go to one of those, it's kind of nice to know what some of the bare minimum things you have to do are. So that when you look, for instance, if you go to, where's my Firefox? If I look at this, if I'm in Firefox here and I go to, oh geez, this doesn't have those labels. I had another window open somewhere. Why doesn't it give me the labels on the top? I hate this full screen that I did. That was a mistake. Is it down here? No. Where am I? See, it doesn't have the, I don't even know how to, oh, here it is. See this view page source? I right click to do it. That actually shows the code that I typed. You can do that on any website. I can go to, I won't do it on StreamYard. I'll, I want to open a new window here. Anyway, I can do it to any website. Oh, here, I've got, I thought I had Andy Cook's website open. What happened to that? Too many places here. Oh. Well, let me open a Chrome window. That'll do it. I'll open a Chrome window. Firefox won't know about that. I can go to Photo, Arundel Camera Club. And I can go here. Let's see if I can remember where it is. Yeah, maybe it's just a right click here too. No. Why?
Richard, it likely is a right click. The problem is, in order to be able to save people's photos from getting kind of right clicked and saved as, I believe our website has right click disabled. So you might want to try maybe another site, and that right click should work for you.
It worked on Firefox. I don't know why. Well, here, let me just, oh, you think it's disabled on the Camera Club. I'll just go to Photo. Here's this guy that I told you about his, I'll go to his photo galleries and, aha, view page source. And I can see what's coded into his page. Sometimes somebody does something on a page and I look, some of them I couldn't interpret in a million years because I only know a very few things. But the point is, you can go to almost any website. I'm going to leave that right there. Go back here to, okay.
Paul shared a link to a simple HTML editing program that he recommends over like a website.
I use this one, Text Wrangler, which is a version of BB Edit. And there are several recommended ones like that. And basically, this is a text editor, a bare text editor that understands HTML. Notice that it knows to change the color. It changes colors here. It color codes things so it's easier to not make mistakes. And the key problem with HTML coding is HTML as a language does not have error messages. If you make a mistake, if it has something that it doesn't know how to interpret, it simply ignores it. It puts up anything it can figure out how to interpret and ignores everything else. And you're left there, why didn't it display my picture? Or why didn't it put those words on? You know, if I make the background color black, if I go right here and I make this black, now the letters are in black. I save it. The letters are in black, and it's here. And if I reload this page, whoops, all the black went away. Why? Because they're black on black. It's there. It's just black on black. So it's a little frustrating that way, but very few. I've got a set of things here. I'm going to save that I showed you here. You can actually get to where you display a picture. I'm going to go to another one here, which is more complicated, but it's introducing the concept of how I organize my pictures on my website. And you'll see this in a lot of them. There's all kinds of fancy cascading styled sheets and all kinds of other stuff, but I use simple tables. There's the background color. There's a label, make a table, and I use this instruction table. Use this open bracket table. I said something about the border. Background color of the table is black. Cell spacing is just if I put two items in the same row of the table, tells you how far apart they are in pixels. And I gave it the width of 80%. It'll be 80% of the available screen space. And then you have simple things to remember. This is a row, TR. TD is an item in a row. So that's row 1, column 1, row 1, column 2. Another TR says start another row. Put these. If you do that, you end up looking at Bing, the next one.
Some of this might be a little over the head for many of the people watching this, but thank you for going into all of this and showing what you can do.
I'm going to skip over a few things and just get to the end of it to get to the point of it. And I have all of this. I have a PDF file that has all these things in it. And I'd be willing, if you want, to put a little stuff on the front of this to say what's going on. I can separate tables. I can center things within the table. I can do a third. I figured it'd be over the head of some people and other people. What I was hoping is to tell people that it's not impossible to do. It can be done with simple things, or you could get one of these Wysiwyg editors and try it out. Here I put a table and I put pictures into the table. So I won't go into any details here, but I was able to put pictures in the table. And I added a row of titles. And literally all I did was do a table with 2 rows to add titles to it. So I can put pictures in a title. I can move forward and I can go, this is a very simple one, because the other thing you have to know how to do is how to click on something to go to another location. And there's an instruction here for it. It's called href equals where you want to go, what you want them to click on, and it's surrounded by these A's and /A's. And you end up with something that looks like this. I can click, it says click here. You probably can't read it. I click there and it goes back to my previous one. I do the back button, or I can put a picture in instead of the words click here, and I can click on that picture to go to something else. What it ends up with is what I'm doing is I'm making, it's going to take a second for it to come up here. I'm making little albums. These are some of my Maryland photos with titles. And wow, it's long and all of that. And if you look at the actual code for it, gee, it's really long, but it's really just a table with pictures where they're located, and you have to be able to manipulate around. You do .. / to go up one directory, etc. And you point to where that picture is. So I can make this where the pictures can be scattered all around the computer and they can be into there. And all the next one is that same table, Control-C to copy, Control-V to paste, and then change the names of the pictures, change the name of the title, and do that over and over and over again. And you make this long thing.
Over in Facebook, Bob says he used to have a website that he showed pictures much like you're showing now with the HTML. And right. Doug Wood says that Lightroom will generate a website for you much like this. But
okay. And there are plenty of other things out there, or you can, if you want to put it on the web, of course, you subscribe and you can put it on, I don't know, Squarespace. A lot of photographers use because they're trying to sell pictures, and they have templates and all of that. And I always get impatient with templates, and so I try to create my own, for better or for worse. And I'm doing this not to put it on the web. I'm doing it for my own computer. In fact, my website that I keep the duplicate of my website is on this computer. And when I want to update what's on the website, I copy it. In other words, I maintain the website by editing it on my computer. And then all the files I change, I copy up to the website at Hopkins where I maintain it. So what I'm trying to do here is the idea is to get to this thing which I showed before, where I've got a collection here of various kinds of albums, if you wish. You know, old family photos. Okay, these are the slides we make copies of. I'm going to change how I do that. I've got a bunch of those. When we go on trips, we went to Finland, Estonia, and Russia, and I've made these, and you can click on one of them, and I've written about it. So I'm trying to write little albums with information so somebody can get these. So this is my goal. When somebody asked the question earlier, this is my goal, and I've been struggling with how to do it. I've tried a variety of things. You saw the one thing I made here. We went to Ann Arbor, where I went to school recently, and I made a little click on slideshow. I've decided I don't like that because it uses some JavaScript code, and I understand the basic of what it's trying to do, but I don't really understand it.
How do you export files from Bridge? Do you know?
I don't. You don't export them. You don't import them into Bridge. Bridge, I'll go to Bridge. I don't have to export this. This file is the file that's sitting. Let me go back here and let me make these smaller. I've got a bunch of files in here in Bridge. This is simply the files that are sitting on my system there. If I go back to my Finder here, this is, oops, I got two of them up there. Photos, Archive Raw 2020. This is this one. And, you know, there's the DNG file, or here's a JPEG file. It's just, you don't import and export. Bridge is managing your photos in place. In other words, when I make this photo, when I do this photo, and basically I run it into Photoshop, I do something to it, I do save, and I save it in a location. And what I've modified a file, let me find a file, let me just pick a file here. I've got that file right there. Let me file, duplicate. Okay, I have a copy of that file, and if I now go in here and I find, oh, I don't have I need the JPEG files here. Let me get rid of the DNG. And I go into there. Oh, you can see I was playing it. Where's the duplicate file?
Do you have a place where you save like your JPEGs from the DNGs, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I go back here. Whoops. We don't need that anymore, do we? I go back here, and as I said, I've got my photos, and these were the archives. The Archive Raw has the DNGs in it. If you go there, they're in any of these. There's the DNGs. When I do something with a file, often I sloppily save it in this location, but I eventually move it to a location that I have organized here, and I'm reorganizing these slowly so that they're all under this thing where I'm setting up this big HTML structure. But right now they're just in various places. The trip file is here. You know, there's a trip file, and that's where I put them. Those are all JPEGs. And what I'm doing now with the HTML is I've actually, when you look at that display I have with all those trips and all of that, actually the files are located all over the place, and I'm using the HTML to do it. I'm trying to regather it. It's a mess, but no. The point is, Bridge, you don't have to export files because you don't import them. I go to a DNG, I open it in Camera Raw, I do whatever I do in Camera Raw, I open it in Photoshop. When I'm done in Photoshop, I save it somewhere.
Okay. Thank you.
And Bridge can, wherever I saved it, Bridge can look at those. I didn't have to ingest it. That's why I'm a little confused as to what I just did here. There should be one. Oh, there it is. See this? I have this one and I have this copy. Okay. That copy I just made in my Finder, but it showed up in Bridge. So in the Finder, which window did I have? In the Finder, I had I'm trying to remember. I was here, I was in here, and I was in this, and there's the copy I made.
Okay.
If I go in here into Bridge, and I have this copy, and I just go and throw it in the trash, it disappeared from Bridge. And if I go back, get the right one here. If I go back here, that one that said copy has disappeared here. So there's no import export. It manages them the way they are. And I don't really save files out of Bridge. I save files out of modifying it. And if I take, let me go back and let me do whichever one I was doing. Let's just take this. Ooh, that's an ugly picture. I got overboard with it. If I take this picture again and I file, duplicate, okay, I've got this new one. It just showed up here, right there. There's the copy. If I open that copy and I'm in Bridge, if I put it into Camera Raw and I do awful things to it, there, that ought to be awful enough, right? And I say done. Oh, there it is. See that? Now, if I go back here to this location where I have that copy, wait a minute. Let me get off of there. Let me just go back to it.
Over
show up in there.
Over in Facebook chat, Paul Wilcox says, "Thank you, Richard, for adding text details about your trips for your family to read. Seems like a trait quickly getting forgotten." And Mary Mary Lou says, "I use the same file names to organize my photos, year, month, day, then a description, but I use keywords in Lightroom to find specific photos, like street photos. Does anyone else use keywords to find photos?"
I would bet a lot of people do. I think I'm probably one of the rare ones. I don't understand why this didn't. I don't understand what I did there.
Do you have a preferred, whenever you modify photos and take them back into, whenever you save them in JPEG form for use in HTML, do you have a preferred size profile setting? Do you sharpen or anything like that?
I do whatever I do to make the best picture I can. I don't worry about the size of the picture in HTML. The picture can be any size. And for the display in HTML, I'm setting it, oh, I minimized that program. Where is it? I'm setting a height for the picture. In other words, it doesn't matter what the size of that picture is. I'm telling it to display it with a height of 300 screen pixels. Or here, this one's 430, 450, 500, various sizes. So I have the picture that's there is the full size JPEG, and I've decided I'm saving JPEGs. For a while, I tried to figure out how to save Photoshop files or TIFF files so I could go back and re-edit them. And in the end, I just saved JPEGs. And, I'm not trying to win any contest beyond the Camera Club, which is displaying them at 1024 pixels on the side anyway. And I do find that every once in a while, I end up having to go back and try to recreate whatever I did from the raw file to get to where I was, because I screwed up. So I'm not as organized as I should be. And if I were trying to do this professionally, I would have to be much better than that, and I wouldn't do it. But I basically, JPEGs, I believe JPEG files will be readable 20, 30 years from now. It's another one of those things. So the goal I'm going for is, yes, to put these albums together. And I've been evolving on how to actually do them. And I think I'm getting, a better idea of what I want to do. So I have these things like this, and, I go into these, and wow, I must have a lot in my memory because it's having trouble bringing them up, even though they're on the, so I've done oh, and by the way, that 80% that I said, if I go, if I can grab the corner of, I can't grab the corner of it and resize it. Next time I'll learn. Avoid full screen. I can't get the corner of it. Oh well. I have one that's not a hot corner. Maybe that'll work. Nope. And I don't remember how to do it. I learned it at one point. If I scrape this down to a different size, I know what I can do. I can go to this guy over here, and I can file, open file, and I can open one of my files. See, it brings up this finder, and I can go to photos. This is where I have this stuff, and I can, let's just bring up one of these. Okay, this is the one I made. Boy, they're taking a long time to come up. I must really have my, but if I'm sitting on this, that 80% means that, see, these things, as I stretch this, they move. The words move with them until they get too close together and they can't anymore, because I specified 80% for the whole thing, but I made a specific file size in file height in pixels. There's not a problem like that this way. You can scroll down forever. So it just moves them. So if you're opening them on, and probably what I have probably wouldn't work if you're opening them on a small device like a phone. I was just looking at the clock to make sure I wasn't completely out of whack, but I'm getting there.
Okay.
Let me go back here, and I'll just, so this has become, oops, what happened here? This has become my way to organize files. And again, I have all of these things. I have this in a PDF. This is PowerPoint. I have it in a PDF. Anybody wants that, they can have it. So I use Adobe Bridge because it allows me to display my pictures. When I go to a directory, I can see all the pictures, and I can hook them into Camera Raw and all of that. It manages those files in place. I don't ingest them into some proprietary software that somebody else might not have, so that my organization stays there. I use the basic file structure with some principles, but I'm really working on the idea of using a web browser to create albums. You could obviously do that with some, program that is Wysiwyg. What you see is what you get.
If you want to, Rich, you can
Go ahead.
you can share the PDF to our Facebook group, and then anyone in that thread could ask you questions about the
Can
HTML.
I just email it to you? I don't share to Facebook.
Yeah, that's fine.
I'll just email it to you. It's the PDF with all of these files.
We'll share it to Facebook for you then.
Yeah, you can do that. I have all these little things that things that I don't like, and so I stay away from. I prefer not to get trapped in proprietary software either. Obviously, Bridge is proprietary, but I don't really use Bridge other than as a viewer and a gateway. Obviously, you can do all kinds of organizing in it. I think you can do almost everything that you can do in Lightroom, except Lightroom also is a really good photo editor too.
Right. I want to put out a last call for questions over in chat, so feel free to ask any questions you have for Rich before we're done.
To find I have to figure out where. Oh, okay, there's StreamYard. And I can stop my screen sharing.
Okay.
And I have to sit up now that you got my picture. I can't slouch.
Do we have any other questions for Rich? Giving it a moment to catch up with us. Have any closing comments you want to make?
No, I think I closed it with that. I thank you for inviting me to do this. I made a couple of comments on that I choose not to use Lightroom, but I do choose to use Bridge. And it's kind of funny because I don't use half of its capabilities, which of course is the same is true with Camera Raw and with Photoshop. And obviously, even if I used a lot of capabilities, I'm in CS5, so I'm behind. And I'm told that there's all kinds of wonderful new stuff, and I'm doing a lot of stuff the hard way, which is probably true.
John says
sometimes it's fun.
John says, great talk. Thank you. Very in-depth primer on Bridge. Mary Lou says that was very informative, and thank you very much. And I'm not seeing any more questions for tonight, so I want to thank you very much for joining us and giving us this great presentation. I want to remind everyone to join us on the Facebook page next week for our first digital contest. And remember to get your images into contests at arundelcameraclub.org by Tuesday, September 22nd at 11 a.m. Remember that there are 2 contests, so send in 2 color images and 2 monochrome images. I also hope you are working on your photos for this month's photo assignment on your favorite drink. And remember, the due date for that assignment is September 30th, and they need to be sent to programs@arundelcameraclub.org. Remember to get your membership dues in to participate in the contests, and thank you again for joining us this evening. See you next week.
Bye.
Thank you.